How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. Lots to talk about here on the show today. We're going to take your feedback on last night's Raw, and obviously a lot going on Raw last night. And hey, breaking news right as we open up the show. Daniel Bryan has been cleared to return by WWE. I literally just got that as we went on the air, so I don't know any other details other than WWE has apparently released a statement, so clearly we got a lot to talk about here today. As noted on the show yesterday, things had changed in the sense that Daniel Bryan had gone out and done a lot of work on his own to try and get cleared, and of late, based on an interview that he did in Abu Dhabi, it seems that what happened was they told him to, I guess, it seems to me that they sent him to doctors, and those doctors cleared him, and thus they decided they were going to clear him. I'll get into this a little bit more after the break, after I read the press release right there. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on right now. I'll figure out more during the break, but obviously we'll see what that means tonight. He's making a big announcement on SmackDown. I think what happened is word got out that Daniel Bryan was going to be cleared, and they wanted to break the news before everybody else. There had been a lot of rumblings yesterday and this morning, and now the word is out, so they have scooped everybody. So we can talk about that today, as well as Raw last night. What are your thoughts on Raw? The Roman Reigns angle, the Ultimate Deletion. If you saw the Ronda Rousey thing with Dana Brooke, we can talk about that, and a lot more. We got new matches for WrestleMania. By my count, we now have 13 matches. I thought there was one more. I can't remember what the 14th one was, but it looks like 13 matches are going to be taking place at the WrestleMania show. So we can talk about that full card. And also, Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor, the greatest Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia, competition for the XFL. We got a lot to get into, and we'll kick it off after the break. Wrestling Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Dave Meltzer joining us here for the news. This from WWE. Following more than 2 years of extensive evaluations, four-time world champion Daniel Bryan has been medically cleared to return to in-ring competition by leading neurosurgeons, neurologists, and concussion experts, including Dr. Robert Cantu, Dr. Javier Cardenas, and Dr. Jeffrey Kutcher. Bryan underwent a full review of his medical history, received comprehensive neurological and physical evaluations independent of WWE. He was cleared by each doctor, as well as WWE's medical director, Dr. Joseph Maroon. Dave, you've been covering this forever. Thoughts on this story?
Yes. The whole angle that had started with Owens and Zayn, they were looking at this. This has been, I would say going back a couple of weeks, it's been expected. Like what Daniel Bryan said the other day, there was a backup plan if it didn't happen. But what essentially happened, I guess I can go through a lot of the story. If you guys have any questions, I actually know a lot of stuff that happened behind the scenes on this. But the gist is that he's been trying to get cleared for years. And he did this treatment stuff that we talked about, the hyperbaric chamber treatment in Florida. He'd had visit after visit. His mental acuity was improving, he said. He did well on tests. And he went to Maroon, who would not clear him, and he said, what can I do? And they basically did a thing where he went to Maroon and said, give me who you think are the experts, and Cantu would be one of them, and I guess the other doctor as well that he talked about in that story. Give me the experts. Who do you trust the most? Who do you consider the biggest concussion experts in the country? I will go to them. And they did that. So he was doing that. He was cleared by University of Michigan doctors. I'm going to guess this is, it was definitely over a month ago, because that's when I really first heard this thing was in play. But it was not a done deal at that time. And then it was, okay, the two more. So this would have happened over the last month, and I didn't know what happened in those, but judging from what Danielson said on Sunday, obviously the way he said it, he must have been cleared by both of them. And at that point, he wasn't just cleared today, because I heard about it actually first thing in the morning, but I didn't get it. It wasn't like confirmed. I couldn't write it or anything like that. It was a one source thing at that point. But I expected that they were going to announce it tonight on the show. So, but anyway, the deal was that he, at that point when both of the people who Maroon suggested, he passed with both of them, they thought it was a very good shot that Maroon would clear him, and he did. And, he's free and clear to wrestle however much they want to use him and however much he wants to be used. I don't know that he wants to do a full-time schedule. I think that we'll probably be hearing a lot more about that, but, the plan is to be Shane McMahon's partner in the mixed tag, or at least that was the plan. That was the plan on Sunday and Monday. So there were people who knew last night at Raw that he was going to be in the match. So the deal probably took place. The clearance probably took place yesterday.
Dave, I got to ask you, this experimental hyperbaric oxygen therapy that Joe Namath has talked about and that Daniel Bryan's been doing, can you just kind of shed a little light on where exactly we're at with this? Because this seems to be the thing, along with, I guess, other things that Daniel Bryan's been doing. This has been a real linchpin in him coming back.
Yeah, I don't know of anything other than the hyperbaric chamber stuff. As far as like what other things he's been doing, that was the main one. But I mean, he was cleared by several doctors, by many doctors, even before doing this treatment. But he said that he was doing much better, that his brain functions were doing much better, and he was well above normal for his age group as far as like damage and everything like that. So that was. That's the basic situation. I mean, it's still not 100%, but he did get people are going to, a lot of people are worried and everything like that. I mean, he did get more testing than any wrestler in WWE history, probably any pro wrestler in history, and probably most fighters in history have ever gotten. I mean, he went everywhere. He was passed by almost everyone, and everyone in the last year has passed him. The last time he wasn't, would have been years ago. So that's the situation. I hope it's for the best. You can't argue with WWE's decision. There were too many doctors. It was one after the other. It wasn't really. I mean, like I said, in the last 2 years, there was not a mixed bag. There was not. Before that, yes, it was a mixed bag. But in the last 2 years, it's or whatever it's been. Yeah, roughly 2 years. Actually, I should say 23 months. In the last 23 months, there's been no doctor he's gone to, and he's gone to many, and everyone has cleared him. So that's the situation.
All right, a couple of other questions here. So I guess the first one would be, I mean, you mentioned that this had kind of been in play for several weeks now. Obviously, the All-In show being announced for very early September, I mean, even if he would have left WWE, he wouldn't have been able to make that show.
Right.
Do you think that he let them know, listen, I think there's a better than 50% chance that I'm going to get cleared, so, don't even do anything with plans of having me there in mind? Do you think that there were other people that knew a lot about this in the last, I'd say, month or two?
I can't answer that question, but I'll try to find out the answer. I don't want to speculate on it. I mean, put it this way. I did notice, when watching Cody of late, that Cody stopped doing the label lock. I mean, that was one thing that really kind of tipped me off. And also, I know some certain people with other promotions. I know that they knew that there was a better chance of Bryan staying than there had been before. I know that they were aware of that. Do I know that they were aware that it was better than 50% or anything like that? I don't know, but like I said, Cody not doing the label lock would hint, because he was doing it, would hint to me that he was aware. I could be wrong, and I will try to find out. So, but as far as the date of All In, I don't think so, because that's Labor Day weekend. That was something planned, and I believe that. In fact, I'm pretty much certain when it came to the date of All In, that was before a lot of these tests, the last two set of tests took, with the last two doctors with the clearance. So he really wasn't, as far as that date itself, I don't think so, but I'll check.
I mean, really, it just goes to show that they have a lot of confidence that All In is going to do 10,000 fans without him. Because, like, to me, if you have him, I mean, I have very little doubt they would have done their 10,000 with everything else that they've got. So if they didn't know, they probably were confident that they could do it without him.
Well, when they were going to do the show, again, they picked that date because it was Labor Day weekend, and they knew that it was a month before he was going to be out of his contract. So they were. I don't believe that they were going like, well, let's hold it off until Daniel Bryan comes back. I think that they chose a date. The idea of the show wasn't about Daniel Bryan. So. Yeah, I don't. When they were talking about dates, it was still pretty much a low percentage that he was going to. I don't want to say a low percentage that he was going to get cleared because they were all working at it for the last couple whatever it's been, couple of months. But I don't think that had anything to do with the date. But I will ask around.
And anything to do with AJ Styles?
There's nothing new on AJ Styles. The only thing I heard is that the word that I was told is hopeful for WrestleMania, and that was before he was examined on Monday. So that could change. I think it's very interesting that no one has said a word about it. Usually when it comes to something like this, the word would be out. So, yeah, I mean, that'll probably be addressed tonight too.
So he is going to be on the show tonight. He'll make the big announcement. Do you think, one last question here, that they made the announcement when they did because word was getting out and they figured we'll just scoop everybody instead of having it break before we do the show tonight?
I think it may have been to build up ratings for the show, and I think your other thing is certainly a possibility, given that I don't know that it was a secret that I half-assed knew. But I couldn't write it because it was not confirmed enough. So it's possible. I would believe that.
Actually, stand by. We're going to go to a break. We'll come back and do a couple more questions and then wrap up the segment. Back in a moment. Wrestling Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. We're going to have Dave here for another segment. So if you've got questions about Daniel Bryan, you're welcome to text us here. 425-780-7566. Talked about this briefly, but what are your thoughts on the frequency with which he will be appearing on TV now that he's been cleared?
I don't know the answer yet. I know that he was talking about wanting to do a limited schedule, which would be like, I know the number 60 was thrown around, but it's all too early. I really don't know any answers. But I know that when he was looking at doing outside, he was looking at like something like a 60 date a year as opposed to a 200 date a year type of a thing. But it's too early to answer as far as what WWE is doing.
Obviously, Daniel Bryan wasn't sitting on the couch throwing down pizza rolls, and even if he was, he could be able to come back and be great. But how much do you know of that? How much has he been doing? How much training has he been doing? How active has he been as far as being able to come back in time for WrestleMania and then after for however many dates he decides to work?
I know he's been training constantly, but as far as like in-ring professional wrestling training, that I don't know. I don't know how much he's been doing. I would think that he's done enough. I mean, WrestleMania was obviously the one of the targets. He's been constantly doing jiu-jitsu, sparring, kickboxing type of things.
But no secret meetings with Lance Storm that we know of.
Not that I know of. Yeah. I don't know anything else that he's been doing like secretly or anything like that. Obviously.
Bert says, is there still a chance he decides to go to the Indies when his WWE contract expires?
I would say probably no. I can't say that 100%, but I would say that it's probably not going to happen.
This person says, do you believe, despite the working idea for a tag match, that they would have Daniel Bryan step in for AJ if AJ is unable to go?
I know that that's a match he would love to do. If AJ can't go, might be a really good idea. I mean, the plan was definitely for the tag match. But I don't know enough to rule that out 100% because I don't know AJ's condition. But yeah, if AJ can't go, that's probably the move to make.
I mean, the way that they have done the storyline with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, I mean, they could go back in the direction of them disliking each other and do a split and have it be like a three-way with Shane and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn instead of a handicap match or a tag match, and then at least put in some doubt.
Well, they had a backup plan for the tag match if Bryan wasn't cleared, so they would go.
Sure, probably Bryan as referee.
No. With Shane having a tag team partner.
Oh, another partner.
Yeah, there was another partner. Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't going to be Bryan, so if Bryan moves to Nakamura, if for some chance they have to do that or they decide to do that, then Shane would probably get a different partner. Yeah, would get the original or the other partner, and I don't know who the other partner is yet.
So it says, how will Bryan's clearing affect the ceremony they have planned for Roman Reigns at WrestleMania?
I don't think it makes any difference. But yeah, he's going to be over like crazy. Yeah, maybe the idea should be that he faces Brock Lesnar and he's the one who beats Brock Lesnar. But I think that they're afraid of the injury risk and everything like that, his body breaking down, neck problems or things like that. They're and he was never their guy. But I tell you what, like if they decide to make him their guy, I think he'd be pretty freaking successful as compared to Roman Reigns in the same spot. But that's not in the cards.
Do you know of any other incidents of late where, because obviously there was the rumor, I guess it was earlier this week about, they had offered Daniel Bryan the match at Mania when he was not cleared, but he could not take any bumps. He would just basically be standing there.
I can't imagine that they would have done that because it would have cheated the fans. I don't think he would have wanted it. I don't think that they would have wanted to. It's like that's an old-time carny wrestling promoter thing that you would do if you were desperate for a quick score of money rather than playing the long game. And WWE is all about the long game, so I don't believe that they would have done that. If he was going to be announced in a match, I think that it was going to have to be, he could do at least enough to do a real match, not a thing where he just turns on Shane right away.
Do you know of any other incidents over the last year, with all of the various feuds that they have sort of kind of been building up for him that they couldn't pay off before? Do you know of any other incidents where they've had ideas about potentially getting him out there but not actually doing anything?
No, this is the first one where I think that anyone thought that it was close enough to where you could actually script something in that direction. I mean, when things were going last year, they were like 100% dead set he would never wrestle again. I mean, he was told over and over and over again, no, there's not. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I mean, you got to give him credit for persistence because they told him no over and over and over again, and he just didn't listen. And
kind of the story of his career, isn't it?
It's the story of his life. Yeah. I mean, the real thing here, the big story here, and somebody brought this up in a question to me just on Twitter. This is very interesting when it comes to hockey and football and a lot of these guys who are not cleared from those sports due to concussions. It gives a lot of credence to the treatment he's been doing. Because a lot of people, any kind of new treatment like that, you're kind of skeptical. When I first heard about this treatment, it was kind of like, well, it's something there, but you always go with the idea that if it's there's so many quacks in medicine and things like that you're naturally inclined to do that. And with Bryan Danielson, I mean, the thing is because of the position he was in, he was going to go in any of those directions unless he could see right in front of him, this is a total quack thing. And obviously he investigated this, didn't believe that it was, thought it was legit, did it, the key is he had success with it. So that makes this, I think that gives a lot of credence to this as far as treatment that a lot of other athletes are probably going to follow up on. I think it's a great endorsement. I don't know that he's talked about it, but I mean that's the big story in sports as far as this treatment.
Whether he wants to be or not, I mean, from this point forward, he is a guinea pig in everything here because Romanowski, there have been a lot of people who have talked about this, but, him going back, and we know at least a baseline. I mean, Bryan said it yesterday, there's nobody out there that's probably we know or there's more is known about their brain right now than Daniel Bryan because of all the places he's gone and all the different tests that he's gone through. Yeah. So, I mean, from this point on, I mean, isn't he, whether he wants to or not, I mean, obviously HIPAA rules and such, but I mean, couldn't he be the greatest guinea pig that we've had, of at least of a name that we know of?
He is. He is, and that's what he's going to be, we're all going to watch him, and if he has no problems in the next year or 2 years or whatever, he's going to be the guy that people go to and go like, wow, this is a breakthrough. If he suddenly gets hurt quick, it'll go the other direction. Believe me, they would not...
Kind of like Kurt Angle at his neck originally.
Yeah, with that surgery.
That minimally invasive,
yeah.
Yeah, but Kurt continued to have neck problems after, and it didn't end up being the big panacea that they were hoping it would be. But like in this case, the WWE has got to have been convinced to a huge degree to overturn their own decision. I mean, it's like they would be inclined not to do this. I mean, so people who are thinking like, oh, they're throwing him on because they need something for WrestleMania. I mean, that's not the case. It's definitely something where, or they're trying to keep New Japan from getting him or anything like that. I mean, that's not the case here at all. I mean, the whole thing is...
Well, no, but let me ask a follow-up because it relates to that question, because people have asked. So it's been 2 years now, and, I mean, just very recently, they've been open to the idea of, here's some guys, go get cleared by them. Do you think because time was running out and he was making it very clear that he was going to leave this company if he did not get cleared, there may have been some pressure on Dr. Maroon to do what you can do? Like, what are you willing to do to let this guy come back?
He'd be used to that from the NFL.
I tell you why I don't think so, because this was all pressure from Bryan and none from WWE. It was just like, okay, and he continued, he continued to have good reports from all these doctors. And it was kind of like, now, put it this way. If he was not going, and it was just like, if I'm either in WWE or I'll never wrestle again, I think there's a real good chance that they may have just kept their thing. The fact that he was going to go and he had all these reports and the way he approached it, there were doctors that there were doctors that were on his side that were willing to really heavily go to bat for him. It wasn't just cleared him. They were going to bat for him big time. So because of that, I think that it was kind of like it almost made Maroon would have been very stubborn to just say, I'm not listening. You know what I mean, to new stuff. So he listened, and it was like, again, Maroon chose the doctors. The last group of doctors that he went to, Maroon chose those doctors. They were his guys who he thought were the best in the country. And when the guys you choose who are the best in the country clear the guy, that's at that point, you know what I mean? It's like that's the odds-on wise decision, the way I look at it.
Shinsuke Nakamura, by the way, just tweeted, "This is great news. No one needs to wish anymore. They can see it with their eyes. Hashtag Nakamura versus Bryan." So I guess we'll see what happens.
But even if it's not at WrestleMania,
it will happen.
That match is probably going to happen because that's been a dream of both guys.
All right. Well, Dave, I want to thank you so much for doing the show today. More on The Observer this week and tomorrow's Wrestling Observer Radio. Back in a moment with more Wrestling Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Obviously, the Daniel Bryan story, the big news today, he has been medically cleared. He is back as a regular wrestler on the WWE roster. He is going to be on SmackDown tonight. The show is live. He's going to be making an announcement, and likely it will be that him and Shane McMahon are facing Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn at WrestleMania, but I don't know what it is. And all I know is that apparently there's a big angle taking place tonight on the show.
Ooh.
So we shall wait and see. And apparently there's another big thing planned over the next couple of weeks that I hesitate to even say this, so I'm not going to right now. I don't want to build up people's expectations.
Don't do that to them. Don't give them anything other than their happiness over Daniel Bryan being back. And there's 1,000,001 ways they could play tonight. There's 1,000,001 ways they could play the announcement, whether it's Shane being up early and he's got to ask Daniel Bryan. Again, who knows? We could speculate on it. But the bottom line is, I don't know what Raw's rating was. But if there was probably ever going to be a show as we're going towards WrestleMania that matches Raw or comes close to Raw, this is probably going to be the one, because I can't see anybody that's been a wrestling fan, that's been paying attention, that hears about this not wanting to tune in, at least initially, to see what goes on. So they really got something there. Vince McMahon has certainly got something there. How long before he gets in his head that one day he gets to have John Cena and Nikki Bella against Daniel Bryan and Brie?
Last night was Raw. I want to mention very quickly, we had the Ultimate Deletion as well as the Brock Lesnar-Roman Reigns angle, which, how can I say this? I thought the Roman Reigns angle was actually really, really awesome, but I did think they made one big mistake in it, and that is Roman comes out.
They had Roman's cuffs too tight?
No, Roman comes out, and he's not supposed to be there, and so Kurt Angle sends out the cops or whatever to handcuff him. He gets handcuffed. He starts beating up cops. Then they hit Brock's music. And, of course, Roman didn't think Brock was there. Brock is there, and Roman Reigns is handcuffed. It was such an awesome moment. Roman realizes, I'm dead meat. Brock proceeds to go in there and German him, hit him with a chair shot, German him, hit him with a chair shot, and leave him in a heap. Now, listen. Obviously, hindsight is 20/20 in this situation. But if Lesnar would have just walked out and I did my thing, I'm out of here. You will not see me again tonight. I think they would have successfully had what they had for a moment there, which was everybody booing Brock Lesnar because he was such a jerk for destroying this guy as he was handcuffed. It actually was working there for a second. But then they had the bright idea of sending Brock out again, and again, and again, and finally when they got Roman on the stretcher, he comes back out and he tips over the stretcher. On paper, I'm sure that's awesome, but what happened in the building was he came back so many times that by the end, they were cheering him again. So they undid all of that good work that they had done at the beginning of the angle. I liked the angle. I thought it was great. I think they went to the well one too many times.
Exactly. I don't know if it changed anybody's mind. I mean, I know what you're saying about the response. One and done probably would have been the best. But yeah, going back that third time, it made it a cartoon, and that's what they do a lot of the time. And Michael Cole's call of it aside, that it was the most destructive thing that my 10-year-old son called out immediately, who remembered that was not the worst thing to ever happen on Raw, certainly not even the worst thing to happen involving Roman Reigns and a stretcher, for heaven's sakes. That aside, they did a good job with it, but they just went too WWE-ish with it, and that was the problem with a couple of things last night, Final Deletion as well as some other things, Miz's deal with Finn and Seth Rollins the same way. It just, it gets too, blankicized, or whatever you would want to say. But I thought the show itself, as far as moving things forward, I mean, I've had a lot more to complain about in the past, so I'm not going to complain about anything on that show. Even though, the Ronda's promo, that video package was is the best thing you could have possibly done last night. Nobody can complain about not seeing her live, because that video package was fantastic.
Okay, hold on. So first off, before we get to that, the thing with this Lesnar deal, this is where they made their big mistake. They want Lesnar to be hated. And so the best they could come up with was they keep him off television and they tell the fans that he doesn't care about you. He shows up when he wants. You're not going to get to see him. Okay? What do people love about Brock Lesnar? They love when Brock Lesnar shows up and there's absolute carnage, unrepentant carnage. So by having him come out 4 different times and give you, the viewer, that unrepentant carnage, they made him a babyface again. That was the flaw in this psychology here.
But the unrepentant carnage, in many cases with them, it turns it into a cartoon where a monitor is flying or something like that. It is very violent, that imagery of Brock being killer, but there is a wink and a nod over how ridiculous oftentimes it is too. And
yeah, but that wasn't this.
But Sid Vicious, pushing a guy on the, even Big Show doing it to Rey Mysterio, him going out there and doing that, I thought was just, to me, it was just too much of a cartoon. And again, they had the formula, like you said, him going out there and doing that carnage, but attacking a helpless Roman at first worked enough. It worked enough visually. It worked enough as far as aesthetics go. The second time, okay, that was fine. But the third time, it's okay, it is way too much over the top right now.
I didn't think it was a cartoon. I just feel that he should have been cowardly and then left the building. That's all you have to do. Be cowardly and leave the building, and the fans will hate you again. You can't keep giving them this carnage.
Especially when they're beating up somebody that, like, you know, people like seeing. There's a majority, or not a majority, but there's a large vocal part of the crowd that loves seeing get beat up.
Now, the Ronda thing, the video was awesome.
It was awesome.
What's not awesome was, it wasn't bad, I guess. It was pretty bad. Who am I kidding? She had a segment with Dana Brooke.
Thank God this wasn't on TV.
They've put it on WWE.com if you want to see the full HD version, which is even more preposterous than the handheld that we saw last night.
Well,
she goes out there, and she's doing a promo, and this is like a minor thing, but I don't know what they've done to her eyes. They have put so much weird eye makeup on her. I have no idea why.
They made Alexa Bliss one time.
They've ruined
like Rosa
Alexa.
Mendez.
I know, it's ridiculous. But anyway, Ronda's a beautiful woman. Alexa's a beautiful woman. I don't know why they have to like paint them up with all this makeup. But anyway, she's out there, and out comes Dana Brooke. And long story short, Dana cuts a promo on her, says, "Get out of my ring." Ronda says, "I'd like to see Make Me." Dana tries. She gets suplexed. That's the end of that. Fine. However, I swear to God, Dana throws a right hand, and Ronda does a karate rising block. She raises her arm into the air, and it stops Dana Brooke in her tracks, and she is frozen with fear.
And then Dana threw up a rainbow of a punch to begin with.
It was so ridiculous. And the crowd, they so want to, I mean, I know people don't want to hear this, some people, but they so want to like Ronda. They so want to cheer her. But I mean, when she did this, the crowd just like went quiet. Like, what?
And the crowd went mild.
And then she threw her, and then they played her music as loud as possible, and that was the end of that.
But then, wait, hold on. The throw. And here again, you have Mickie James, who, by the way, looked fantastic. But anyway, Mickie James is there, a pro of the highest magnitude. Why not have her on a segment nobody would see anyway? Go out there. But because Dana Brooke literally jumps into Ronda's arms, who then throws her over.
Yes.
It was, in your words, preposterous.
Listen, watch any segment where they have a big star wrestler come back. They always find a Heath Slater.
But Slater can go. Hawkins can
Rowan.
go. Dana Brooke can't go.
They're not looking at it that way. All she had to do was take a suplex.
I guess.
That's why they used her.
But who? Nobody else is there?
Now, I got to get to the ultimate deletion here. Okay, listen. Michael Cole coming on television and apologizing for what we're about to see. I realize it's his job. But, like, this guy better win Worst Announcer of the Year next year because of this. I was so infuriated when he looked at the camera and said, "I apologize for what you're about to see." They did
Obnoxious.
not. They cut the entire thing off the Hulu version of Raw. That tells you what they thought about it.
Well, no surprise, though.
They, like, are you going to do it or not? Like, why is it the main event if you're so embarrassed about it? And you're letting us, the viewer at home, know that you're embarrassed to put it on television. Why is it in the main event segment then?
That's going way over.
Now, here's my thoughts on it. I liked it. I was entertained by it. It was not as good as the ones in TNA. And the most ironic thing about it, it blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
They love doing goofy comedy.
And movies.
They were making movies. We love comedy. Ha ha! Listen, the ultimate deletion it's all comedy. It's cameos and, funny things happen, funny visual gags. There's holograms. There's every campy thing you've ever seen. This was like the first time they tried this. Remember when they did the Wyatts versus
the New Day?
It was a New Day, yeah, and
it sucked. And it was there, and it was them looking at the final deletion and ultimate deletion and going, "We got a budget. We can do better than that."
Well, you know what? They didn't do better because they tried to play it straight. This is not designed to be played straight. No. I didn't dislike it, but like of all of the deletions that we have seen, I mean, all of the ones in TNA were better. I'm not saying this one was bad. And I'm also happy because Bray Wyatt was thrown into the Lake of Reincarnation. His body was not found. Mm-hmm. So I believe that the Bray Wyatt character, I'm not saying it's like dead forever, but I do think that we're going to get a new Bray Wyatt for a while, which is going to be very. I hope not, but this will be
Wyndham Rotundo, wasn't that his FCW name?
A fine.
Where's Naylor?
This will be a fine change of pace.
How about Blackjack Mulligan III?
For Bray Wyatt.
Hey, you know what I'll be fine with too? I'll be fine with them building on this. I'll be fine if they want to continue on with this because, to be honest, not that I have anything against Matt Hardy or Bray Wyatt, but if you want to continue this on and keep those dudes separate from everybody else and actually make something out of this with their own alternate universe, great. I'm all for it. No problem whatsoever.
All right, a couple of final text messages here. Person says, Cole should have been apologizing before every Jinder match for the last 11 months.
Well, that's...
He's not wrong.
Tom Phillips' job, isn't it?
With the possibility of more matches, I'm counting 14. Rusev is teasing something with a celebrity. Could they possibly start early and make it a 5 p.m. local start time for the main show?
We got a SmackDown.
No, we got a 2-hour pre-show. Yeah, here's a full card, everybody, and I'm missing something here.
Hold on, let's match notes here.
Lesnar, Roman Reigns, AJ Nakamura, Ronda and Kurt versus Stephanie and Triple H, Charlotte versus Asuka, Alexa versus Nia, Miz against Seth and Finn, Cesaro and Sheamus versus Strowman and a partner, the Cruiserweight title finale, the Women's Battle Royal, and the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, Cena versus Undertaker, the Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Shane McMahon match, and the SmackDown Tag Title match. What am I missing?
1, 2, 3,
That's
4,
13.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
There's one missing here. Anyway, there's a 2-hour pre-show, and there's a 4-hour main show, so they should be able to get 14 matches.
Did you say the Cruiserweight final?
Yep, 6 hours.
Damn it.
So, yeah, and we'll know more tonight.
A moment with Elias, although that won't be a match, I don't think.
It says the WrestleMania may feature Daniel Bryan's return, Ronda Rousey's debut, Brock Lesnar's last match, Undertaker's return from retirement. What a development. And the rumor is the show may be 6.5 hours long. Yeah, they can go over 8 o'clock.
6.5 hours doesn't mean 6.5 stars, does it?
Wrestling Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. If you somehow just tuned in, Daniel Bryan cleared to wrestle by WWE. Big announcement tonight on SmackDown, probably a big angle as well. We have got the John Cena-Kane match announced for Raw next week, which will probably set up the return of The Undertaker. We only got a couple of weeks left, so whatever they're going to do with The Undertaker, they got to do it soon. We got a Greatest Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia coming up. They are advertising 7 title matches on the show. The WWE, Universal, Intercontinental, United States, Cruiserweight, and the Raw and SmackDown tag titles all on the line.
Hey, what's missing there?
The women's titles, either of them.
How about it?
50-man Greatest Royal Rumble match is going to be taking place.
Man.
Likely going to be a WWE Network special, but not confirmed. And if you go to the front page of WrestlingObserver.com, there's also a story on Charlie Ebersol and his new football league. Is going to be competing, the Alliance of American Football, competing with the XFL. Story on that.
He's killed the XFL before the XFL even gets off the ground.
Story on that on the front page of WrestlingObserver.com. We got a lot of great news up there. If you sign up today, you get everything. The new Observer tomorrow with Dave's huge story on Daniel Bryan. All of the radio shows, over 9,000 of them in the archive, so check those out. And, of course, all the archived Observers and Figure 4s as well. If you missed yesterday's Observer Live, we got a lot more on Daniel Bryan. Had a lot of discussion about Daniel Bryan yesterday on the show, so check that out. And we'll be back later on tonight. Bryan, Vinny, and Craig Show, Retro Raw, and Nitro from 19 years ago this week. Observer Radio with Dave tomorrow. And, of course, this show every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. Thanks, Mike, as always. Everybody in the studio, callers, and listeners. We'll talk to you again next time. Wrestling Observer Live.